It's Tiffy time.
And that is all it's gonna be.
Toodles!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Happy Wednesday. Good to see everybody here. Good to see everybody filing in. Got a couple things to talk about today. Today we're going to discuss TNA Explosion as well as WWE NXT. By the looks of things, this will be the last time we discuss Explosion, as the overall consensus on the poll I put up is that you guys just want to see me cover the A shows and no more of the B shows. So Collision, Rampage, and Explosion are all going to go bye-bye. And beginning next week, it'll just be Raw, NXT, NWA Power, Dynamite, Impact, and SmackDown that all get covered. I'm going to make things a lot easier on me. That way, if for some reason I forget to watch one of the B shows or I just don't have time, I don't have to sweat it. So let's get into the final Explosion that I'm going to review. I'll probably still keep watching it because overall I really do enjoy the show, and it's only 40 minutes on YouTube. But I'm not going to be covering it here anymore unless something tremendous happens. If I happen to watch an episode and a title changes hands, then maybe I'll report on it. But otherwise, this is going to be the end of it. Show opened with Richard Adonis and Braxton Hunter taking on the Grizzled Young Vets. Now keep in mind, TNA Plus got this episode of Explosion on Friday. I do not subscribe to TNA Plus. I have to wait for the free YouTube version. All of these matches took place prior to Sacrifice last week. So keep that in mind as I cover this. But this was some great divide and conquer by the Grizzled Young Vets. You had Adonis start the match. Couple minutes in, he gets the tag to Braxton Hunter, and from that point on, Braxton Hunter is just stuck in the ring. He doesn't get a tag back. Adonis doesn't get to come in and try to, Fists of Fury and get that hot tag. Once Braxton Hunter is in, that's it. The GYV just destroy and decimate him, pick him apart. They hit the grit your teeth for the victory, and it is over. We then had our Around the Ring segment with Gia Miller, and this week she talks to the quintessential diva, Giselle Shaw. And they talk about her time before she got into wrestling as a flight attendant. This was very interesting, learning that aspect of Giselle Shaw prior to her wrestling career. Definitely think y'all ought to check that out. And then our main event match was Trey Miguel with Zachary Wentz at ringside versus Trent Seven with Speedball Mike Bailey at ringside. Now, again, pre-Sacrifice, these two teams met each other in the pre-show Sacrifice. You can go back. If you're a TNA Plus subscriber or an Ultimate Insider, watch it on their YouTube channel, or go back to any of the channels of the Jeff Meacham Network, Multiverse of Media. Check out our watch-along coverage of it so you can see what happened in that match. This was just a tremendous main event. Great chemistry between the two men. Trent Seven got the victory here, just ahead of the match at Sacrifice to get that momentum. If memory serves me, they won the match at Sacrifice as well. All in all, just a nice, easy matchup here. Honestly, I have really been enjoying the Explosion shows. Again, they're about 40 minutes. You usually get 2 matches, plus the Around the Ring segment, plus a retro match from one of the whatever pay-per-view they're building towards. They give you a classic match that happened at that event. Definitely worth your time to get introduced to some of the characters and the performers inside of TNA Wrestling. It's becoming too hard to keep up with all the televised product and do it in a diligent fashion to where I am personally invested in it and can relate to you, the viewers, the level of excitement that it deserves, if that makes any sense. Before we move on to NXT, going to take a quick commercial, show you all of the upcoming open mic night special events that'll be happening throughout the rest of the year. And we'll be right back after this.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
Welcome back, everybody. Now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the Wednesday shows. WWE NXT. My NXT, damn it. And I do not digress. Much like Noah Foster no longer digresses about his love for professional wrestling, damn it. Show kicked off with OTM Out the Mud versus the LWO. This is a tag team qualifier match. What NXT is doing is they're doing 3 matches, and then the winners of those 3 matches are going to go into a triple threat match, and the winner of the triple threat match is going to get Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin at Stand and Deliver. So this is the first qualifier match. We'll have the other 2 next week. OTM jumps the LWO as they make their way to the ring. It was a decent match to start the show. I feel like it could have been better if OTM had got the victory. LWO got the victory here. LWO, in my opinion, doesn't need the victory here. They're SmackDown superstars. They should be trying to work their way onto the WrestleMania card, not the Stand and Deliver card. We've got 2 nights of WrestleMania. We've got the Judgment Day defending the titles in a 6-team ladder match. LWO should be focused on that, not on trying to get to Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin. OTM needed this victory a little bit more, in my opinion. A little bit disappointed in that. It is what it is. We then go backstage and we have Chase U, Andre Chase, Duke Hudson, and Thea Hale. JC Jane and Jasmine Nix are ominous by their absence. If you remember last week, JC said that she was going to be too busy this week to be her partner. So Andre Chase and Duke are wondering who Thea's partner is going to be. And it's going to be none other than Kaylani Jordan. One of the 2 people that I suspected when I discussed this last week is Kaylani Jordan has got issues in history with Kiana James and Izzy Dame also. We'll get more into that when we get to the match later on in the night. We then have Roxanne Perez come out and cut a promo, and her heel promo work here was outstanding. She just, something lit a fire in her, and she damn near burned down the performance center with her fire. She started talking about how a year ago at Roadblock, she took on Maiko Satomura, collapsed afterwards, running through the whole story that those of us that have followed NXT have been aware of for a while. She collapsed after the match, stripped of the title, never got a shot at it again, one-on-one. Had to deal with Tiffy time, had to deal with Indy Hartwell, had to deal with Becky Lynch. Now we've got Lyra Valkyria as the champion, and she's done playing by the rules. She's done. And honestly, I can't say that I blame her. Her motives are just. I still wish she had been the consummate good guy, but her motives for the heel turn are just. Tatum Paxley, well, excuse me, let me rewind that back. Ava Raine comes out and gets involved, starts talking to her. Tatum Paxley tries to jump the barricade and attack Roxanne. She gets subdued by the security. Next week on NXT, we're going to have Tatum versus Roxy. Should be a fantastic match between those two. I'm really digging Tatum Paxley as of late, and then Roxanne is Roxanne. We then go to a segment where the D'Angelo family are celebrating Tony D'Angelo's victory last week over Carmelo Hayes, his impending title shot against Ilya Dragunov at Stand and Deliver. They're having a good meal. They're cheersing Luca Crucifino, who's now an official part of the family. And Ilya Dragunov shows up, uninvited, unannounced. He gets ambushed, jumped, thrown in the back of the car, and just taken away. We get more about this in a moment as well. We then have an Obafemi interview backstage, and Dijak interrupts it and seemingly issues a challenge to Obafemi if he gets through his match here this evening against Brooks Jensen. We then go to Brooks Jensen taking on Obafemi. And Jensen got a little bit of offense in here, but Femi just dominated the entire match. Briggs comes out to try to show some support, Josh Briggs, Jensen's old tag team partner, but it's not enough. Obafemi gets the W here. No real surprise. Obafemi is a beast and he is on a roll. I could see him becoming the longest reigning North American champion because it's going to take a lot to destroy him. We then find out what happened with Ilya Dragunov as the D'Angelo family pull over their vehicle alongside of a bridge not far from the PC. And apparently Tony D has brought quite a few people to this bridge in the past. And he's handled business. But he tells Ilya that he respects him, so he's not going to do to him what he's done to others. He's just going to leave him there and let him find his way back home. And he clearly abandons him on that bridge. Ilya tells Tony D that no matter what, I always find my way back. This is some grade A storytelling that's going on right here, because Tony D is definitely teasing some more of your typical heelish mafioso Don type tendencies. But Ilya's been walking that tweener line also between babyface and heel. So who really is the good guy and the bad guy in this situation? Tony D has literally come up from nothing over the past 2 years to be at the point where when he says he is the Don of NXT, you believe him. And I feel like come Stand and Deliver, it truly will be the era of the Don, and he might just dethrone Ilya. We then had Gigi Dolan versus Ariana Grace, and the stipulation here was that if Ariana won, she would get to bring out the beauty of Gigi Dolan. This was a decent match, but it was a goofy match, and it ended when Gigi hit a low blow on Ariana Grace. First of all, why are you going for a low blow there? That just doesn't make sense. That's what you do to a dude. And secondly, Gigi is now going to have to be groomed, if you will, by Ariana because of a disqualification loss. I feel like that's a dumb way to go. I don't think it's going to last. We may get a rematch at Stand and Deliver, but regardless, I thought it was just silly and just very unnecessary. I do want to take a second and thank everybody for all the comments coming in. It's cool to see that type of interaction for my NXT. We then go backstage and we get a segment with Sol Ruka and Carmen Petrovic. And these two women are talking backstage, kind of catching Sol Ruka up on how the locker room has changed since she's been out with her injury. Lola Vice comes in and tries to throw her weight around, and the girls just aren't hearing it. They kind of trade insults back and forth. Once Lola leaves, Brinley Reese comes in, and she's just this bubbling pot of positivity, if you will. It was a fun segment, but I felt like that time could have been given to the Gigi Ariana match, maybe turned it into a little bit more than what it really was, because it was a short match at the end of the day. I would have maybe given that time to that match, at least given it a little bit longer in before we get to the finish here. Make it really mean something if we're going to do a DQ victory. Next match was Kiana James and Izzy Dame versus Thea Hale and Kaylani Jordan. And Kaylani was ambushed backstage prior to the match, so Fallon Henley comes out and takes her place. This was fantastic tag team action here that saw Kiana unfortunately defeat Thea Hale. Now, during the match, JC Jame and Jasmine Ninks show up, come to the ring, and there's a spot where they pull Fallon out of the way to save her, but they end up taking Thea Hale out in the process. And this leads to the victory for Kiana James. Post-match, Thea gets on the microphone and she just gets very, very emotional and talking about how she wants to be nothing like JC Jane. She thought JC was her best friend, thought they were like sisters, how she changed for her to try to be cool like her. But JC Jane has just always been toxic. And she realizes that she wants to be nothing like that. And she declares that the old Thea Hale is back. And I gotta say, everybody knows how much I love me some Thea Hale. I am so glad to see the old Thea Hale back. And yes, Emmanuel, I think that Thea will defeat JC at Stand and Deliver, and that she may end up embracing and kissing Riley. Such a great moment and segment. Chase U represent, Chase U alumni. Now, backstage, Riley Osborne sees this from the dressing room, and the No Quarter Catch crew come in and then begin disrespecting him. This brings in Axiom and Nathan Frazier, and they seem to have his back. Next week on NXT, it's going to be Axiom and Frazier versus two members of the No Quarter Catch crew as part of this tag team tournament that they're doing. And Riley Osborne is going to take on a member of the No Quarter Catch crew for the Heritage Cup. And the No Quarter Catch crew keeps saying that come Stand and Deliver, they'll have the cup and the tag titles. I think that would be big for them if they do. I'm not sure if I want them to do that. It'll depend who else ends up in this match to see who's going to go on and face Braun and Corbin. Yes, Emmanuel, we know. She was in a faction called Toxic Attraction. LOL. I almost put my Toxic Attraction hat on for the show today, as I have the hat and the t-shirt. But I went ahead and just decided to keep my hoodie on because it's actually been kind of chilly up here these last few days. It's only 49 right now in SoCal. We've got a wind advisory in the area because the winds are kicking up. But I digress. We then get a promo from the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, about Hank and Tank. They're supposed to be taking them on next week as part of this big tag team match. And again, while I think it's good that the Good Brothers are down here in NXT to redefine themselves, they should be trying to get in that ladder match for WrestleMania. They are members of the SmackDown roster. Unless they've been officially transplanted, they should be trying to get into that big match at WrestleMania, not trying to get into a match at Stand and Deliver. It's the same beef I've got against the LWO. We'll see what happens, how things develop. But at the same time, it's like these are teams that could be trying to go into that ladder match. While I think Gallows and Anderson versus Breakker and Corbin would be a banger, I don't feel like we need Gallows and Anderson to be the tag champs. We then get Shawn Spears versus Ridge Holland, and this is all about trying to get Ridge Holland to embrace his rage. It was a good match. I was a little bit distracted while it was happening, so I don't have too many details here. Shawn Spears did get the victory. I don't recall if Ridge really gave in to his rage or not. Again, I was distracted. It is what it is, folks. This is part of why I don't want to do the B shows anymore, but I put it up to you guys. Because if I watch too many wrestling things in the course of a day, I feel like my interest in the later things kind of dip. If that makes sense. You know, you go into the first thing, hype and ready to do stuff. And then by the time you go to the second and the third thing, it's like you just start to lose your energy. So to have watched Explosion prior to NXT, then by the time you get through 2 hours of NXT, even as much as I love it, sometimes you're just like, okay, is it over yet? Show ended with the Trick Williams promo, and basically Trick here is talking about how Carmelo said that he and Trick were never on the same level, and Trick kind of reiterates that. And Trick says that Melo will never be on Trick's level. That everything about Trick was organic, whereas everything about Melo was like pushed, forced. For some reason, the metaphor comes out, and Noam Dar starts to jaw jack with Trick. And it starts to turn into an ambush, and Trick takes out Noam Dar. He takes out Oro Mensah. Lash Legend is about to throw a blow at Trick, and he catches her, spins her around, and plants a kiss on her. She's a little bit befuddled, but he keeps throwing like winks and stuff at her and giggling. Come to find out that they're a legitimate couple in real life. So congratulations to Trick and Lash. You know, I've actually gained a ton of respect lately for Lash Legend based off of her in-ring performance. Still not a fan of the metaphor as a whole, but Lash Legend has definitely impressed me over the last couple of months. And Trick Willie is Trick Willie, man. I've been a Trick fan about as long as I've been a Melo fan. But congratulations to them on being a couple. And I think the way they wove the kiss into the story here was very slick. Very slick. All in all, I thought that NXT was a great show last night. I would give it probably about an 8 out of 10. And the only reason I take it down a couple notches is, one, because of the DQ between Ariana Grace and Gigi Dolan. And two, because of the fact that I wasn't able to really concentrate and pay attention to the Shawn Spears match. I was distracted, which was not the fault of the show, but at the same time, I feel like if the match was better, it would have been easier for me to not be so distracted. If that makes any sense. So an 8 out of 10 for NXT. Explosion, I'd probably give the same, an 8 out of 10. What did you guys think of NXT? Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments. We're going to throw to the trailer real quick for our upcoming watch-alongs, kicking off with tonight's big business. Going through Bash in Berlin. Yes, there's a couple that haven't been added yet that have been announced recently. Those will be added into the next trailer once I take big business out. But here's all the watch-alongs that are coming up across the multiverse of media.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
Here we go again!
We are back. Before I get into the shills, I am going to answer this question for Emmanuel, as he's been a long-time contributor, always super chats on open mic night. So thank you, Emmanuel, for being here. Legit question: how do you get a low blow on a woman? Like if it was a man, sure, but on a woman, it makes 0 sense. I 100% agree with you, Emmanuel. I don't know how you get a DQ on a low blow on a woman. It does make absolutely no sense. I think the only reason is because of trying to not have a gender bias. If you do that to a guy and it's a low blow, it should be a low blow if you do it to a woman type of thing. You know, there shouldn't be specific different rules based off of gender. I think that's the only reason when it really comes down to it. You know, the women in professional sports have long been fighting for equality. So I think that's what it boils down to, is that you shouldn't have a different set of rules for women as you do for men. Daniel, another longtime supporter, can't wait for big business tonight, and yet I wonder, how is AEW ready for a legit boss? Man, I want to hope and pray that come big business tonight, AEW handles what is more than likely going to be the impending debut of Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks properly. I really want to give them the benefit of the doubt that she won't be in catering after 6 months with nothing to do with her. I want to hope and pray that she doesn't get injured right off the bat and is out for another year. You figure she debuted for New Japan February of last year. She won a championship, lost it the following month, was supposed to become the New Japan Strong Champion at Resurgence, whether it was May or June. Forgive me on being off on my months here. Wrestled 3 matches in the tournament that night. Got injured against Willow Nightingale in the finals. As a result, an audible had to get called. Willow got the belt that night. And here we are. She's just now coming back to wrestling almost a year later. I hope to God that doesn't happen to her in AEW. You know, otherwise her signing is going to be a complete failure. I want to hope for the best. I do wish Mercedes the best. I hope that Tony Khan's investment is a good thing and not a bad thing. But man, I mean, with as much as people get injured over in AEW, and yes, for the record, they get injured in every company. But it seems like she gets injured in a lot. It seems like AEW talent gets injured a lot more than WWE. I don't think she's going to get involved in the Elite storyline. I do think her first feud is going to be against Willow. As a matter of fact, I think she's going to debut either during or after this match tonight as a way to build momentum to that, so that we can maybe get Willow versus Mercedes at Dynasty. But I mean, just a solid card here tonight. We've got the Massey brothers and Kazuchika Okada taking on Eddie Kingston, Pac, and Penta El Cielo Miedo. We've got Hook and Jericho versus the Gates of Agony. Darby Allin taking on Jay White in what could be Darby Allin's final AEW match ever. Come March 27th, he is leaving to go climb Mount Everest. Not everybody survives Mount Everest. So this very well could be Darby's final match. We've then got Willow versus Riho. and Samoa Joe versus Wardlow for the title. So, I mean, a stacked card tonight, plus whatever else may get added at the last moment. But it should be a solid show. Again, we will be on live, kicking off our coverage at 4:45 p.m. Pacific, 7:45 p.m. Eastern. We might go a little bit earlier than that. We might start as early as 4:30. It just kind of depends on if everybody is ready to go or if everybody shows up at the last moment. Because, I mean, there's a lot to be discussed before we go live. Noah Foster, myself, and James Hebert will all be at the commentary table, providing our commentary, our live reactions, and the whole nine to the show. So make sure you guys tune in and you join us for all of that across the multiverse of media. That'll be immediately following the Greg Cherry Show. The Greg Cherry Show returns today, and I believe it's going to be an every other week experience. The Greg Cherry Show won't be back every Wednesday. It's going to be back every other Wednesday, I believe. If you missed Inside the Mind of the Renegade yesterday, go back to the archives here on the Casa D18 Studios channel. Check it out. Give it a watch. Let me know what you guys think about my storyline and how Roman should retain at WrestleMania. Lots to get into there. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel, as I give my thoughts on AEW Big Business as well as NWA Power. NWA Power dropped yesterday on the CW app. I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I'm going to watch it today, take notes, and I'll cover it tomorrow along with AEW Dynamite. And until this evening for AEW Big Business, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.